Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a new very interesting episode with Mark Tech. Hopefully we are usually very Apple focused over here, but we have some huge PlayStation 5 news, or should I say some small or slimish PlayStation 5 news. It's a new look coming this holiday for the PS5 console. This is not a PS5 Pro, definitely not a PS6, but it is a PS5 that is slightly upgraded. In what ways I'll mention later, but it has this new look. It keeps the black and white two-tone of the original PS5. The LED strip seems to now be running along the full length of the PS5, which is definitely a great look. But the highlight of this show is now a removable disk drive, as was rumored by Tom Henderson and several other big leakers who mostly followed in the footsteps of Tom Henderson. And with that, we also have now these lines basically further separating the front and back panels. So I don't quite yet know how accessories will work, side covers, but it seems to be a really interesting look. Also topped off or bottomed off with a new stand that should be compatible with these models, but also the original PlayStation 5 and PS5 Digital Edition. Now Sony covers it as such. It's a smaller PS5 design that comes with 1 terabyte of storage for PS5 and PS5 Digital. Now this is important because 1 terabyte might sound like something we already had, but technically we only had 825 gigabytes in the original launch version, both across the digital and the disk drive version. So now Sony seems to be adding a little bit more storage, more like your standard 1024, and then a lot gets like taken up by your by how the drive is formatted, and obviously how much space the operating system takes up. But this definitely seems to be a part of the improvements here on. And the new model provides option to add an Ultra HD Blu-ray disc drive to the digital edition. We are getting to the prices and obviously how these models stack up a little later. So let's see how they're putting it. As the holiday season approaches, we're excited to share that we have a new PS5 model launching. Now, it's important they really point out that it's the same technology features that already make the PS5, as they put it, the best place to play. But for us as enthusiasts, it mostly means it's basically the same processor, Wi-Fi technology, and stuff like that. There are some noticeable upgrades though, for example, like the move from one USB-A and one USB-C port in the front to 2 USB-C ports. So if you like using your PS5 to charge any kind of other accessories, that's actually really nice. But however, of course, the main star of the show is how big or non-big the new PS5 models are. The new PS5 has been reduced in volume by more than 30% and weight by 18% and 25% compared to the previous models. There are 4 separate cover panels, right? We can see that when we look at the sides here, with the top portion in a glossy look, while the bottom remains in matte. Now this is something that we've seen in leaks, which was very much this design, but it looked almost like everything was glossy. But now we know the top part of these side panels is glossy, while the bottom one is a matte finish, which looks really cool in my opinion, at least. If you purchase the PS5 Digital Edition, you can add the Ultra HD Blu-ray disc drive for PS5 later. So the hardware here is unified. Basically, if you're getting the digital version, you're getting it with a bottom side cover here on this side. If you're buying the disc version, you're getting it with the disc attachment already attached to your PS5. I apologize, my voice is not quite what it should be. We can see that setup over here, right? Looks pretty intuitive to me. This is the disk drive and the cover for it. They will start rolling out in November in the United States, so in time for the holiday season. And they will let us know about other regions pretty soon, I imagine. Let's get to the pricing. It's not very surprising overall. There's no like big price reduction by any means here. What it seems to be though is effectively a price increase for the digital edition. My theory here is that Sony has been kind of getting sick of producing a cheaper model that actually loses them money if they have a model to sell you that makes them money. So they basically unified it as much as they could without pissing customers off. Now the main model is still the disk drive model. It's the $500 model, now with a little bit more storage. The PS5 digital edition is now $449, up from $399. So that makes it a $50 difference. However, if you buy the digital edition and later basically want to make it into a disk drive model, that's a $79 upgrade. In Europe, the prices are about the same. This is all following the price increases, obviously, because of the stronger inflation in these regions and the comparative weaknesses of the currencies. Similar things apply in UK and Japan. They also cover this new horizontal stand, and also a new vertical stand compatible with all PS5 models that will be sold separately for $29.99 or €30 or £25 or 3,980 Japanese yen. They also cover obviously some games that will be still coming out this year, and they give us all the tech specs. It's important here. You can see that the actual processor is the same, right? It's Zen 2, 8 core, 16 threads, clocked at up to 3.5 gigahertz, a variable frequency RDNA 2 based GPU that delivers up to 10.3 teraflops. The memory seems to be the same, with 448 gigabits per second bandwidth, with 16 gigabytes of GDDR6. And now, as I said before, we now have USB-C on the front 2 times. We have one that is super speed USB 10 gigabits and one that is high speed USB, but the word high speed does not mean that much. Wi-Fi seems to be Wi-Fi 6 overall, so there's no improvement here. I've speculated in the past whether or not Sony might add PlayStation Link to a new redesigned PS5. Part of that, or as a speculation, was because we are losing a USB-A port in the front, which would make it a little more difficult to connect their accessories to it. But again, we still have one USB-A port, and we have 2 USB-A ports in the back. So I guess this isn't quite as big of a problem in PlayStation's eyes as I kind of assumed it might be. Again, disk drive is either equipped or can be equipped later. The models are pretty similarly priced, but not quite the same. The digital model is by default a little more expensive in the United States, and as I've already pointed out, the disk drive is either $80, 120 euro. That's a little bit more than I expected, but I guess this also makes up for the $100 price for the €100 price difference between the digital and the disk drive models here. £100 or 11,980 Japanese yen. So a very interesting announcement. I don't know if I will make a stream out of it yet. I hope it is helpful to you. It's definitely something we need to cover in the future to find out if the new model is potentially based on TSMC's 4 or 5 nanometer down from 6. I don't know. I personally think, given that this isn't such a huge reduction in volume, I honestly don't think that it's 5 or 4 nanometer. I just think it's still 6 nanometer, which again is still better than the launch version of the PS5. But it is just in a new package, which with redesigned cooling and a slightly sleeker design. I like it overall very much. It seems to be obviously very consumer friendly with its approach to you're not stuck with diskless if you're buying the digital model basically forever. I have the digital version because it just looked the best. Now if somebody buys the digital model going forward, they will be able to upgrade, quote unquote, to a disc experience, you might say, afterwards. So everything still very much ongoing in development, in developing, very interesting. I will hope to provide more coverage in the future. This is a very off-the-cuff video where my voice is unfortunately not as good as it should be, but I hope you still enjoyed it. I hope you still learned something. Please correct me if I made any mistakes because it's such a new piece of information out there. Please consider that most of the content on this channel is live streams, so if you find this in the regular video section, go to the live stream section to find a ton of other content. Please subscribe, like, share, do all the YouTube jazz as we are usually calling it here. And if you want to support this channel directly, you can find the Patreon link in the description of this channel. If you're watching future live streams, please consider giving a super chat or a super sticker, or I believe you can now also do super thanks once the video is actually uploaded. Beyond that, I think that's it for now. Thank you guys so much for joining. I'll see you in future videos. This is Mark Tech, tuning out.